speed. Just 2 adepts, and that's the build they're going for here. Is 2 adepts and a late base. There's a gateway here. This is kind of a 1 base all in they're going for, which you would see if you went to the correct place here. So link speed should be on time. Most Zergs are taking their third at 30 supply. We see there's enough money to take a third base. See? So this could have been earlier. And if you see that it's a double gateway, double adept build, this queen needs to be at the natural. The 2 queens should be on a creep queen hotkey that should be right here at the front. So when these adepts come in, the queens can focus fire one of them and get a good deal of damage on them, and the lings chase the shade. So our stance here is wrong. Queens should be here, lings should be here, so you can defend these drones or chase the shade up into the main. And you want to make a third queen in the main. And you can see here we do have enough money for that. I just want to make sure we don't get supply blocked. You're meant to make 10 lings against the double adept play. Okay, adepts go in. The lings should have chased the shade. And since they have 2, they can kill a drone in a single attack from each of them. You can pull the workers away. It's better to lose mining time than to lose workers. Drones mine at about a rate of 1 mineral per second. So even if you pulled all these workers off for 5 seconds, that would be better than not pulling workers away and losing 5 drones, for example. Short term, yes, your mining income does go down, but as soon as the harassment ends, you're in a way better spot. And remember to produce with your larva during the harass. That's a really common slip up for people, is you're focusing on what units are attacking you, and you're not getting the larva spent into drones. And this is a key point where Protoss will pass up Zerg in economy. This Protoss isn't macroing too much behind this. Like, they could be chrono boosting probes out right now from this, and they could also be chrono boosting something out of this. So yeah, you want to make sure that even though you're interacting and messing with either attacking or defending, you want to make sure you know what your macro task is through that. And that's something you can write down in a situation like this. Like, I'm at 30 supply. What am I making while the adepts harass? If I have the lings and queens, you're making drones. So you just go hatches, larva, drones, hold down the button until you run out of larva, and then you can focus on the harass. And you need to push creep spread like post haste. One thing that I do to get in the mindset for how your creep spread should be is I just watch Ferrari cars just driving really fast, or Formula 1 cars, or the like Olympic runners and things like that. That's how your creep spread should be advancing towards your opponent. There should be the first tumor that starts here, and it should go boom, 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 every 30 seconds, all the way to the opponent's base. That's one of the strongest things you can do to improve your Zerg, is to give your map presence a huge boost by just shoving creep constantly. Queen's energy should either go into an inject or a creep tumor. Anytime you see a queen with over 25, there should be a question mark. What is your quest? What is your job? You have 32 energy right now. This queen could go over here, creep tumor, and then shift move command back to this hatch, and the inject is still good. This hatch, the inject is good. This queen has been doing that, so this queen should be assigned to creep spread. She could put a tumor right here, and then run over to the third and inject that, and then get a creep tumor right here, and then shove creep in this direction. And your creep queen group should be, generally speaking, the first line of defense right out here. Oh, you could have killed those if you just fight them. That's one of those intuition things that you develop over time, where this is 3 units, this is a smattering of units, it's 14 lings. You would win this fight and kill all of them if you just let go after you attack move. There's a prism coming up. This is going to be 4-gate adept with no glaives, which means their attack speed is not as fast as if they had glaives. These queens should be all active and moving. Queen DPS against adepts is really poor. So what you want to do is have the queens be focusing really hard on fighting the prism, if they can manage it. And these spaces not being creep connected is going to be a problem. Shading up here and not having creep connection is ouch time. So we have 27 workers. I would advise in an empty custom game, just see how many workers you can make by 6 minutes. Make your 1 queen per base, maybe even go up a little bit further than that, but really see what drone count can I achieve by the 6-minute mark and make 10 links. So you make 10 links, you make 5 queens, and then just see how many raw drones you can get. Because if you're doing it perfectly, you could have about 60, so about double this amount by this time. If we weren't supply blocked, if we didn't take these gases, which don't do anything for us right now. There's not a gas unit we can make, aside from, I guess, roaches. But we don't have the right drone count for minerals to support this amount of gas. So we're going to float gas here. Rushy, you ready? All right. Zealots and adepts. We need all the queens to be fighting here. That's the majority of our supply and fighting units at the moment. So all 6 of these queens should be fighting. And if you pull all your queens, you can just make a new queen from the main. So you still have an injecting queen. They'll let you kill their stuff. Wow. So they could be taking a 3rd base, double gas, chrono boosting probes out of all this. And 3rd base, 4th base could be taken. Double forge, there's also money for that. Twilight Council. So yeah, if there was creep over here, you would have more vision of where these units were coming from. And it would be easier to defend. And as a general rule, you don't want to get gases before you've saturated the base for minerals. So this base looks kind of messed up. You would want to be getting something like 20 workers out of 16, so the number is in the red, and then you add 1 gas. This was heavy harass and you were practicing, you couldn't figure out how to defend and get a 3rd saturated. Yeah, that's what I was telling you how to do. Basically, the creep presence is going to make defending everything a million times easier. Now you got the creep going, but that could have been started with usually the 1st queen at the natural. Zergs are using that to start their 1st creep tumor. You got gas to make roaches. Yep, that's what you're meant to do. But you can do that off of 2 gas, not 3, because now we have 1,000 gas that we can't spend. So our resource management is putting us in a wonky situation where we can't capitalize on what we've earned. Most stuff costs minerals. How much gas does a hatch cost? How much gas do queens cost? How much gas do extractors and spores and evo chambers and spawning pools and roach warrens cost? Nothing. So we can focus really hard on trying to get 3 base mineral off of 2 gas is what people normally do. 2 gas while you drone up. You can still afford roaches and lings and queens and drones ideally. And then during the fight, what do? We produce. Hatch's larva drone is probably what you want to make here because our economy is 19. You can mouse up here over the top right and you can see your worker count. Need to get these drones back to work. These 3 queens in the main could be transfusing. Ideally, you would have them focusing the prism. So the queens are hunting the prism. It's their favorite meal of the day, is the warp prism. The roaches and stuff are supporting the queens, and they make sure the queens don't get killed. The Overlord spread is nice here. You can see when this third is taken, when this base is taken, this base. No vision here. But the layer should be going down at around 4 minutes. So a little bit earlier than this. Oracle's flying around. Just one spore here and it'll be fine. One spore, one queen is usually good to push back an Oracle. Inject. Try to keep your inject uptime as high as possible. And as a general goal, I would say try to hit 60 drones as fast as you can, and then mass overlords and then mass roaches. 60 drone will be a good goalpost to kind of shoot at from where we are right now with our macro fundamentals. And then just trying to keep all the buildings working in some capacity. This could be injected, this could take an upgrade, this can take 2 upgrades. Roach Warren can take an upgrade. You could even get Bane speed. Just trying to keep the money down and try to keep the production tab as fat as possible. Like a sign of a really good macro player is they'll have not one item here, but they'll have units being made, overlords being made, creep tumors being made. Maybe you've got an upgrade that's also researching, or a couple upgrades. Maybe you've got an overseer morphing and a whole bunch of other stuff happening kind of at the same time. You couldn't do anything, kept killing your units in battle. You were suppressed. Yeah, that's because you fell behind. If you fall behind early, then you're kind of stuck defending. But we had some room to macro that we didn't capitalize on. So basically that's the essence, is you try to figure out where you're falling behind in the match and how to prevent that from happening. So the most crucial thing that we can do from this game is to look at the early game mistakes and try to correct those and just iron those out of your matches in general. So what do we have? The first Overlord needs to go to the pedestal by the natural. The first Overlord needs to fly to this pedestal at the natural. Didn't have to have a chance to make mutas and kill drones. Don't worry about mutas at this point. Mutas are pretty far off. First, we must learn how to drone. You have to have drones to make mutas. Muta production, you need probably at minimum 44 workers if you're going 2 base muta, but if you're going 3 base muta, you need something like 70. So we're looking at drone count and how to get there. So the queens should be together at the front. The Overlord goes to the pedestal. The queens are together at the front to put some pepper on these adepts. The lings always chase the shade before ling speed is done, because you want them to be on top of the shade whenever they complete it in your main base. That way the adepts have to choose between attacking your drones or attacking your lings. Okay, so the lings would have already been on one of the adepts attacking it, and they would be either taking damage from the lings as they're trying to kill drones, or they would be killing your lings, which is fine, because you want to make up to 10 anyway. If you see 2 adepts, you make 10 lings. You could have defended with spore and crawlers and produced 200 drones with that many queens. 60. We don't need to get ahead of ourselves. We're not to Rainer's level yet. If you're new to the game, having a good goal that's achievable, I think is a good place to start. Nobody makes 200 drones. That's too many. An ideal economy size for Zerg is neighborhood 70. 70 workers, and if you're a little bit below that, it's fine. If you're a little bit above that, it's fine. And then we want to take 1 gas whenever we have complete saturation here, not 2, and try to get a 30 supply third base, and then inject these 3 bases as fast as possible. If all your bases are injected, you have larvae for days, and then any excess energy you have, you can spend into creep tumors. So you're trying to establish a ring of vision around your territory with creep and overlords. So first you drone with proper defense. You take your second gas. You could even take your roach horn at the same time. and then you're really trying to rush out the drones, whenever the prism attack arrives, all of the queens should be hustling to try to kill the prism, and then the Ling Roach will fight the other units. Has the magic number of 80 to 85 number changed? Remember that is the optimal number for drones. You haven't played for 2 years though. On some of the maps, if you do that, you will die horribly against almost every build that exists. For some maps, that is still a very good economy size. But if you're playing on Oxide against a Protoss who takes a fake third Nexus, you will die horribly. Guaranteed. If you want a reference build, I have some builds here. There's a ZVP build in there that would allow you to crush this opener very easily. Smaller map means less drones, yes. You tried that, but it was almost impossible. There's one replay you did this practice twice. Last time you didn't do gas. You focus minerals, trust you. You made gas this time and hope to succeed. Yeah, I can understand trying to mix it up. If your strat didn't work one time, then you might mix it up and take gas earlier. But really what we're looking at is the basics here. The basics of Zerg mean using your queens and being vicious in attacking this warp prism. Like super aggressive. Like the queens have one mission and that's to hunt down and kill the warp prism. And whenever an attack goes in, if you're supply blocked, you can make something like, yeah, 5 overlords is cool. And then lair and roaches, and you could defend this. If you want a really easy way to defend Shade Adepts, you can set each rally point of the hatches just to the mineral line. So right click here. This hatch, you can right click here. This hatch, you can right click here. And then just spam roaches. And you'll have some roaches in each of your bases. So if they shade from the third to the natural, you've still got roaches there. That's kind of the idea here. But yeah, tightening up the early game. You fell really far behind. And we're kind of stuck not droning and floating money. It can feel impossible, but really the essence of this game is a wax on, wax off approach of your queen management being better, your larva management being better, your resource management of minerals and gas being better. And each of those takes a ton of work and dedicated practice over time. Okay. All you know is macro build and that's it. No problem. Thank you for the support. Can I type you a text for it? I already did. See this link here. Like I do with others? What do you mean? A text for what? For what you were asking about? People get notes typed up if they pay for the hour of coaching. Some people write down, yeah, that's if you get an hour of coaching and you book that with me. The builds command there will have a build that should help your ZVP a lot. Okay.